Let us pray. Father in heaven, we thank you for this day, for blessing us with new life and a day that we can come and celebrate life and the fellowship of one another. And we pray that you'll go before us now, O Lord, in these our doings, and that you'll guide us with your most gracious favor. Through Christ our Lord. Amen. Thank you much. You may be seated. Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. the Honorable Hubert A. Minnis, the Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable K. Peter Turnquest, other ministers of the government who are present here this morning, to our Chamber Chairman, Mr. Mike Mora Jr., all the members of the Board of Directors of the Chamber of Commerce who are present this morning, and all permanent secretaries of the ministries who are present here today. All of you are very distinguished members. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. I'm delighted to welcome you to the first Power Breakfast of 2018. As many of you are aware, we started this process in June of last year when we began the Power Breakfast sessions, and we're inviting members of the government, ministers, to come and speak to the Chamber about issues that are relevant to their ministries, to give us a first-hand view and an understanding of what their challenges are, what their plans were, what their objectives were. And we were very pleased that we were able to engage up to the end of last year. We had already engaged, I think, 7 ministers in the government. We started out with Minister Brent Simonet, who spoke to us in June, and I think we ended with Minister Jeff Lloyd, who spoke to us in December. So we're grateful for the ministers agreeing to speak to us. We have a few more ministers that we want to get to allow them to come and speak to the Chamber, and that will begin again, in fact, this morning with the presentation by the Honorable Prime Minister. This forum gives us all an opportunity to hear directly from the government. But today is going to be a particularly special presentation because what you'll be hearing from today, or who you'll be hearing from today, are 2 of the leaders in the country, one being the leader of the country in the person of the Prime Minister, and the other being the leader of the private sector enterprise, or the leading private sector group that represents the private sector business community and employers, and that is in the person of the chairman of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation. Before I invite Mr. Mora to come and speak and to give his address, and following him we're going to invite the Prime Minister. There'll only be 2 speeches today, and I just want to make you aware of a few things, housekeeping-wise, and then we're going to get on with the presentations. First of all, I want to encourage you all, please. We have all of you coming in would have been given a copy of the Chamber's calendar of events for 2018. I want you to please pay attention to the calendar, and of course the dates and events are subject to change based on circumstances, but we want to encourage you to look at your calendar of events and see what is in the plan, or in our plans for 2018. The next session that we're going to be having, as far as the Chamber is concerned, is going to be held on the 21st of February, when we're going to be hosting our 2nd annual State of the Economy report over at the Atlantis Resort. That is going to be a session where we've invited in and expect to be hearing from the IDB. The World Bank is coming in to speak to us. We've invited in also the ratings agencies who are going to be speaking to us that day, as well as we're going to be hearing and getting some updates on the World Trade Organization's ascension process. And we are pleased that the Honorable Deputy Prime Minister has agreed to deliver the keynote speech for us that morning as well. So please pay attention to that. It's coming from the 21st of February. We want to encourage you all to be a part of it. And the focus of that meeting is going to be pretty much different from the other business sessions you would have had a chance to participate in so far this year. I also want to draw your attention to the trade mission schedule as well for 2018, and you also would have been given a copy of that. We have a very aggressive trade agenda this year. We're talking about WTO ascension. There's a lot of things going on there. And the first session for our trade missions for 2018 There is going to be a mission to Panama for those who are interested in taking part in the Expo Comer Trade Fair in Panama at the end of February. But the Chamber is working very hard to complete its arrangements for our trade mission, official trade mission to Washington, D.C. on the 4th to the 8th of March. We already have a number of persons who have registered to be part of that delegation. We've extended an invitation to some of our ministerial colleagues to join us on that, and we're hoping that they will be able to find the time in their schedules to do so. And I want to encourage you, if you want to get some exposure for your business, you want to see what's happening out in the international marketplace, particularly a place like Washington, which many consider to be really the seat of power in civilization, we want to encourage you to contact the Chamber of Commerce, register to be part of these trade missions, and we think it's going to be worth your time, effort, and resources. Charo Walker, just wave your hands for me in the back of the room. Right in the back there, just keep you waving. That is Ms. Walker. Anyone interested in the trade missions, please reach out, call the Chamber, speak with Charo Walker, and we'll be glad to get you registered to be a part of these trade missions. And finally, I want to thank, these events will not be possible had it not been, or were it not for sponsors who come on board to assist us in making these kinds of events possible. So today in particular, I want to thank Bahama, Mr. Sandy Sands and his team for generously coming on board as our sponsor for today's breakfast. Please let's give Bahama a round of applause. Thank you very much, Mr. Sands. We appreciate your support today. And we also want to thank our patron sponsors of the Chamber, and the list is growing. So our patron sponsors are Commonwealth Bank, Alive, and Arawak Port Development. If your company is interested in partnering with the Chamber as a patron sponsor, we've got some new sponsorship opportunities that are available. Please come and see us to partner with us to help us execute our agenda and our objectives for 2018. All right, housekeeping stuff done. Mr. Mike Moore sits as chairman of the Chamber of Commerce. He was elected by the membership in our AGM in June of last year. Prior to serving as chairman of the Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Moore also served as the vice chair of the Chamber for 2 years, and he served on the board in previous dispensations of the Chamber of Commerce as well. Apart from his distinguished career in the Chamber, and he will probably tell you that he spends almost as much time on Chamber work as he spends on doing the work that he's actually paid for. Mike also is the CEO and leads what I am sure he will tell you, and that we agree is the most efficiently run port in the Western Hemisphere. So ladies and gentlemen, please, let's stand, let's give a round of applause and welcome Mr. Mike Morris. He comes to bring the chairman's address.
Edison's a wise man. Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you again to this Power Breakfast. We're so excited today, given that our Prime Minister has taken the time to address us. The Bahamas Chamber of Commerce is deeply grateful for the national address of a few days ago given by our Prime Minister. The past few years have been challenging ones for our Bahamas, owing to three main factors: profound changes in the local and international climates, both economic and natural, the country's seeming determination to hold on to ways of operating that have been ill-suited to progress, and the third factor is a result of the first two being that the Bahamas has lagged considerably in international competitiveness, the quality of business development, and the quality of life. Now it appears that there is a new positive wind blowing in our Bahamas, matched by a following and bountiful sea. To achieve the greatest benefit, every Bahamian citizen and resident, corporate and individual, has to recognize that we are all crew on this ship, and we're all needed on deck, fully and accurately informed of prevailing conditions of the ship and the outlook ahead. We must all work together towards common goals. To do its part to bring about this needful national convergence, the BCCEC has been hard at work. On June 14th and 15th of last year, we held our Bahamas Chamber of Commerce Conclave, which brought together the 8 chambers from throughout the Bahamas, along with key passionate private sector representatives, civil society, key civil service professionals, political stakeholders, and others. And this was made possible by the generous support of Alive, Commonwealth Bank, Bahamas, and Arawak Port Development. The participants rolled up their sleeves and hammered out key economic and social issues facing our country. Of the hundreds of participants, there wasn't a quiet voice in the conference hall as to what was wanting to drive the country positively, equitably, and safely forward following the themes surfaced. And Edison has been talking about the booklet that we prepared, which is this right here, which can be found on our website, and there'll be some made available. The items that came out of that conclave were the need for comprehensive government ICT platform, civil service human resource development and support to include enhancement of process, enforcement of laws, engagement of subject matter experts to assist government, empowering local government, the advancement of FOIA, improving in the ease of doing business, compliance with national budget and expenditure accountability, introduction of KPIs to measure the effectiveness of national policy, training, literacy, skills bank and labor availability, energy reform, leveraging the National Development Plan, access to capital, and SME support. The results of the conclave enable me to comment now on the government's efforts to date and how well they accord with the desires and concerns expressed at that time. Secondly, I will highlight the Chamber's response and the work since June of 2017. To begin, I offer the following in response to the Prime Minister's national address. The BCCEC agrees with the Prime Minister's assessment that our economic recovery has a long way to go. We must all accept that it is a work in progress. The Prime Minister spoke of the high unemployment, the fiscal challenges, a cumbersome and inefficient business environment, corruption within the public service, reasonably and sensibly addressing international regulatory pressures, and more. The BCCEC agrees with this assessment, and we support the following steps taken by government. We especially congratulate the government on its holistic approach. It is only by taking into account all elements contributing to a problem can we bring about positive and sustainable change. This comprehensive brand of thinking is evident in the creation of the National Economic Advisory Board, the establishment of the National Ease of Doing Business Committee, and the restructuring of the Department of Inland Revenue with a twofold purpose of optimizing the taxpayer and DIR interface and bringing greater effectiveness to the tax process. Intimately connected are the efforts to bring economic efficiency and equity to foreign exchange control, the passage of a credit reporting bill, and the launch of e-tendering and supplier registry system. Nothing could be more positive than the move to bring greater equity of opportunity for business development and wealth creation. BCCEC applauds the launch this year of the Small Business Development Center, an initiative spearheaded by the government in conjunction with the University of Bahamas and the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce, with support of the Organization of American States. Just as promising in this regard are the introduction of the Commercial Enterprise Bill, the commitment to provide credit facilities to SMEs and a $25 million fund for MSMEs, the waiving of business license fees for all business startups for the first year and for all business license taxes for SMEs with revenues of less than $100,000 per year. A further essential underpinning is the introduction of financial and entrepreneurial programs throughout our educational curriculum. Because ports are the economic lifeblood of a country, we look eagerly forward to the redevelopment of Prince George Wharf, which is to include the realignment of port fees with destination value and the economic revitalization of downtown Nassau. We are cautiously hopeful of the government's initiatives designed to root out corruption and reduce crime. As regards to the latter, we are glad for the introduction of the Citizen Security and Justice Program and various other crime reduction initiatives. Of great importance are the efforts to reform our energy infrastructure and dependence on dirty fuels and the remediation of environmental disasters like the landfill in Clifton. Taken together and brought to successful fruition, these initiatives can and will bring greater economic and social stability to our country. The Prime Minister and his government are to be congratulated for their stated objectives and the comprehensive approach. Now that our nation's captain has spoken with the agreement of his bridge and crew, the BCCEC must make its contribution to what must be a nationwide dialogue and collaboration. I respectfully invite the government and colleagues to review the following, which are a product of research and deep reflection on the part of our organization. The government's pension liability must be addressed to include a move away from non-contributory plans. The Bahamas must carefully consider the implications of a corporate and income tax on our long-term viability. RBC's move to digital banking has highlighted the vulnerability of our family islands. This is a crisis which the government is asked to urgently address. We also draw attention to the following. The IMF has forecasted Bahamas GDP growth at 2.5% for 2018. As a backdrop, the 4 years prior to 2017, the Bahamas had zero GDP growth, and a national debt climbed from approximately $4 billion in 2012 to over $6.5 billion in 2017. The IMF's prediction is not intended and should not bring a sense of relief. Every Bahamian must internalize that the Bahamian economy remains in a perilous state. While the opening of Baha Mar has provided obvious economic benefit, it is simply not enough. The government's stated reforms must move at light speed. We are fortunate that the U.S. economy is presently strong, but this may not continue. There are real concerns over the mounting U.S. national debt, as it has climbed from approximately $16.7 trillion in 2012 to close to $21 trillion in 2017. Wages have started to ramp up, and the Fed has increased rates 3 times in 2017, with plans to increase rates in 2018 and 2019. I stress the undeniable point: our economic opportunity lies in our own economic reforms. The Bahamas must become a global business competitor, which benefits from tourism but is not dependent on tourism. Mr. Prime Minister, the BCCEC earnestly appeals that there be no tax increases without meaningful reductions in the cost of essential goods and services. Please consider revenue enhancement strategies driven by tax reductions, such as the elimination of import duty on apparel and shoes. This tax disproportionately affects the most vulnerable in our communities, while discouraging our over 6 million visitors arriving on our shores every year from buying clothing in the Bahamas. The BCCEC is most grateful for this opportunity to address you directly this morning, Dr. Minnis. Now I have the pleasure of pointing out that our Communications, Membership, and Fundraising Division, ably led by Christina Lee Darville and Davinia Blair, have produced a comprehensive diary of the June 2017 Conclave Report, which I showed you earlier. Since June, all 8 BCCEC divisions, supported by various committees, have been hard at work. I wish to highlight that our board comprises passionate and committed volunteers who rely on other volunteers to drive progress. If you believe you can make a difference, we welcome you, and I will provide a brief summary of the work to date. This is where I encourage you to join or to renew your membership. The Trade, Foreign, and Domestic Economic Development Division, led by Darren Pickstock, has been involved in WTO analysis and discussion. The BCCEC has not arrived at a specific position relative to WTO, but is presently focused on the promotion and understanding of the pros and cons associated with a WTO membership. You can find a BCCE statement on WTO on our website. It's expected that in late February, this division will host a WTO forum where participants both educate, listen, and learn. Please note that on March 4th through the 8th, we also have a trade mission to Washington. You would have seen it advertised. The Policy, Regulation, and Commercial Dispute Settlement Division, led by Crystal Rutherford Ferguson, has been working with the Ministry of Finance to develop and promote the Bahamas as an international arbitration center. Her division has also established a strong working relationship with the Bahamas Bar Association in the promotion and dialogue centered on current policy and legislative amendments. Most recently, the spy bill discussion held last week was live streamed on the BCCEC Facebook page and on YouTube. This division also provides support to the Chamber. The Family Island Development Division, led by Roderick Sims and Davinia Blair, has been very active in its efforts to address transport, critical infrastructure, and economic growth initiatives on our Family Islands. According to Family Island residents, the current mailboat service is a real obstacle not just to economic growth, but to basic survival. Working closely with Family Island Chambers, this division continues efforts to impress upon the government that a transport fix is required. The recent decision by RBC to either close or significantly modify its operations in key Family Islands has highlighted the vulnerability of these fragile economies. This division has been active in both engaging commercial bank sector leadership and working to identify banking solutions for these small economies. In partnership with Family Island Chambers, Roderick and Davinia continue to promote the Family Islands as an economic development alternative to New Providence. I must also highlight the exceptional work in the area of communication, ensuring our Family Islands communities, through the respective chamber leadership, receive daily updates on economic and social issues affecting their lives. The Labor and Skills Development Division, led by Peter Gowdy, has been extremely active. I'll touch on a few significant initiatives. The Citizen Security and Justice Program targets at-risk youth and provides them with soft skills and employable skills training. It is a relatively new government IDB initiative, which we believe is both essential and transformative. The apprenticeship program, also supported by the IDB in collaboration with the BCCEC and government, is being finalized to create apprenticeship programs with subsistent wages to be paid from the funding so we get as many employers involved as possible. The division is also working on the public employment services. This new initiative from the Department of Labor matches job vacancies with resumes of registered unemployed and employed Bahamians. While the rollout has been marred with some communication issues, the initiative is long overdue and we remain fully committed. And my last example is the Productivity Initiative in conjunction with the ILO. The Labor and Skills Development Division recognizes that significant productivity challenges facing business, government, and our economic future. This effort brings together ILO leadership, the BCCEC, and organized labor with the purpose of achieving and promoting a competitive, productive, and satisfied workforce. The Social Program Reform Division, led by Derek Osborne, is engaged in the national health insurance debate and the National Insurance Board pension program with the objective of ensuring that new legislation and policy supports a competitive, reasonable, and viable program. I should highlight that the BCCEC has 3 representatives serving on the NIB board and 1 on the National Health Insurance Authority board. The division is also concerned about the workings of government's conditional cash transfer program. This program has had much success in Jamaica, providing funding to the most vulnerable and supporting the immunization of children and school attendance. The Energy and Environment Division, led by Debbie Deal, has been on the move. You will be challenged to find someone with more passion for the environment and energy reform than Debbie. If she's not on the Lester Cox Show, demanding that we take our planet seriously, she is producing YouTube segments on energy efficiency and easy ways to be green and save money. She and her green team have been strong advocates of a clean Clifton and have launched and branded the Green Initiative. Additionally, they have forged a relationship with the University of Bahamas in an effort to address toxic waste research and continue to work with the Ministry of the Environment in an effort to eliminate our reliance on plastic bags and styrofoam. If any of you have the passion and can keep up with Debbie and her team, please join the effort. The Communications, Fundraising, and Membership Division, ably led by Christina Lee Darville and Davinia Blair, have been busy to say the least. Since June, they have restructured the membership portfolio, restructured and enhanced fundraising portfolio, published the National Conclave of Chambers report, and organized Bahamas at Sunrise appearances for greater communication to the public regarding Chamber ongoing initiatives. The work ahead includes the complete revamp of the BCCEC website with the intent to provide an interactive, state-of-the-art platform for members and potential members and access to pertinent data surrounding research and analytics and other important items surrounding the country's private sector. The hiring of a CFM membership specialist liaison to ensure that the commitment of the BCCEC to communicate continuously and effectively with its members is made possible. We are also committed to building public-private partnerships towards the ease of doing business, economic growth, and legislative changes, amongst other things. And then there's the upcoming June 12, 2018 conclave of the Chamber of Commerce, which we expect and hope to have right here, thanks to Bahamar. Following our 2017 conclave, the BCCEC turned to the ease of doing business with a specific concern for the impact on SMEs. While the work of each BCCEC division has an obvious link to doing business in the Bahamas, we believed it was necessary to establish an exclusively focused effort to coordinate the ease of doing business efforts of the government and other entities. The BCCEC Ease of Doing Business division is chaired by Crystal Sands Feast and Deanna Gardner. The Bahamas' ranking on the World Bank's Ease of Doing Business report are well known. For our members, the additional time, human and financial resources associated with navigating the endless bureaucracy associated with doing business in this country in these difficult economic times means more pressure on cash flows, less money to upgrade infrastructure, hire more people, or invest in your business. Having said that, I would describe the journey to improving business in the Bahamas as a journey offering significantly low-hanging fruit. I can assure you that your BCCEC is committed to running to the finish line. Our goal is to assist in identifying solutions as opposed to focusing solely on the challenges. Since August of last year, the Ease of Doing Business Division has aligned its work with the National Ease of Doing Business Committee appointed by the government. More specifically, myself and the co-chairs of the Ease of Doing Business Division were appointed to the National Committee. As members of the National Committee, we have participated in meetings with the government regulators, made presentations to government, and assisted in drafting legislative amendments and in formulating recommendations to the government on paying taxes and starting a business. We understand that these matters are under active consideration by the government. The BCCEC's work as members of the National Committee remains ongoing. More recently, in light of the current business license renewal season and the feedback received from our members, the BCCEC made a number of recommendations to the Minister of Finance to positively impact businesses seeking to renew their business licenses, including 1, bolstering human and online resources at the help desk at the business licensing unit, and 2, extending opening hours at the company's registry and the National Insurance Board to 5:30 to facilitate the processing of requests and certificates of good standing. In terms of next steps, the Ease of Doing Business Division intends to continue to focus its attention on challenges surrounding starting a business, registering properties and businesses, getting credit, trading across borders, and will launch an effort to address the process of obtaining construction permits, protecting minority investors, and getting electricity. Let me assure you the BCCEC is fully committed to doing its part to see that it's easier to do business in the Bahamas. Already hundreds of man-hours have been invested in this process, and many more will be done before this marathon is over. The BCCEC also has several committees which work to support the work of many divisions, and I would like to highlight the work of our Finance, Budget, and Audit Committee chaired by Derek Osborne, and the Governance Committee chaired by Emmanuel Komolafe. The Finance Committee has advanced efforts to restructure the Chamber's financial management and controls to include an audit by KPMG. The Governance Committee has worked with the Board to review various terms of reference and documented our governance roadmap for the BCCEC. I wish to thank these committees for their efforts. I hope my comments have clarified the invaluable work of the BCCEC. In an effort to survive today, I must encourage all of you that are not members to join. We need your active participation. We need your financial support. We need to know what you think, what works and doesn't work for your business. I also strongly encourage you to attend the 2018 conclave, and I promise it will not be a waste of your time. I must also thank the face of the BCCEC, Mr. Edison Sumner, and he's our trusted CEO and his leadership team. And for without them, we wouldn't be the organization we are today. And I thank you for your time and support.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mora. As you can hear, the Chamber's been very busy. There's a lot going on, and we want to encourage you, please, to continue to support your Chamber of Commerce so that we can achieve the things that we have set out to achieve in our objectives for 2018. We're going to be hearing from the Prime Minister next. But before he comes, I just want to encourage all the directors of the Chamber of Commerce. If you notice today, what we've done our best to pair our directors with the counterpart ministers in government That's how the Chamber works. We try to keep in touch with our counterparts so that we can liaise properly and be able to communicate on exchange of ideas and policies and the rest of it. So I want to encourage all of our directors who are present in the room, just kindly stand for a moment so that everyone can see who you are, and they can put some faces to some of the names. These are the people who are responsible for the policies and the strategic direction of the Chamber of Commerce. So please, let's give show some appreciation to our directors here today. Thank you all. Thank you. So we're now going to be hearing from the Prime Minister, and in speaking with him, I told him that I didn't have a written introduction for him, and so I said I'm going to just jot down a few points of what I know to introduce you properly today. So here's what I know. I know that he is a trained physician. I know that he was elected to the House of Parliament in 2007. And after his election, he was appointed as the Minister of Health. I know that in 2012, he became the official leader of the FNM after they would have lost the government. And I know that he's had a pretty rocky and rather stormy political career, to say the least. I know that in 2016, he was fired by his colleagues as leader of the opposition, but he maintained this role in leadership as leader of the FNM. And I know that after that, he successfully led his team in the FNM to become the government of the day. And from what I'm told and from these statistics, it's been one of the most significant political victories that we've seen in the history of our country. Dr. Minnis is I guess we can call him, he's an old colleague, and like many of you know, I'm sure he delivered my son as well. And I'm sure he delivered many other children either in this room or your children. He would have probably had a hand in their delivery. But we, as Mike said just now, we support many of the government's policies. And just as a matter of fact, the Chamber's position really is when, if the government is doing something and we have a challenge with it, or we have some concerns about it, we will let them know. It's important for us as a Chamber to remain neutral in our position, but to be always forthright in our position to the government to let them know the areas that we support and the areas that we do not support. And when we do not support a position of government, we do not simply go in with an objection, but we also follow that through with recommendations to be sure that we can keep that level of dialogue consistent and open so that your voices as private sector businesses can always be heard at the table with government through the Chamber of Commerce and our various committees. So ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to invite you all to please stand right now as we welcome to speak to us the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Hubert Alexander Minnis.
Thank you very much, Ms. Be seated. It was interesting that Sumner had such an interesting introduction for me, because I'm always reminded that I delivered so many, and they in turn subsequently delivered me. But yes, he mentioned about stormy political career, but throughout my life I've always remembered one thing, that whatever you do, you must always put God first, and whatever you do, you must always remember to remain focused and think positive. Always ignore the negative and the naysayers. They are only obstructionists. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my colleagues, good morning. I want to thank you for your invitation to speak at your power breakfast. I know that a number of cabinet ministers have previously addressed your forum. The government's overarching agenda is one of reform, modernization, and transformation, animated by a program for growth, investment, and opportunity. Despite the long road and challenges ahead, there's growing confidence in our country. There are positive prospects on the horizon, and recovery has begun. Our emphasis is on a dynamic blend of domestic and foreign investment. We are determined in our vision to enhance economic opportunities for Bahamian businesses and entrepreneurs, including Bahamians in the diaspora. We intend to diversify with tourism and across various sectors as suggested in the Commercial Enterprise Act. At the outset, I thank the Chamber and the Confederation for partnering with the government to help boost growth, economic development, employment, and opportunity. To help stimulate business ownership and Bahamian enterprises, the Cabinet has approved the launching of the Small Business Development Center of the Bahamas this year. It is an initiative spearheaded by the government, along with the University of Bahamas and the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce and Employers Confederation, with support from the Organization of American States. This center will provide a resource for all Bahamians to receive advisory and technical support when seeking to open a business or expand their operations. The center will steer entrepreneurs to available funding opportunities through government or private sector. It will also assist business owners in navigating through the regulatory and tax registration requirements for a new business. The government is committed to the enhancement and development of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises known as MSMEs. Small and medium-sized business development is critical to our economic growth. I announced on Monday that the government will invest $25 million to help develop these MSMEs, and this will amount to $5 million a year for the next 5 years. This ambitious initiative will help stimulate the economy and boost growth and employment. In the past several weeks, a number of your members have participated in the Labor on the Blocks initiative. This initiative utilizes community parks and community centers to register the unemployed and to bring positive prospective workers together with potential employers. The most recent event in the series was a construction jobs fair held recently at the Kendall Isaacs Gym. And I am very pleased to report that in the week or so following the event, that approximately 300 individuals were hired. I thank the Minister of Labor, Dion Folks, the Ministry of Labor, the Department of Labor, and their partners for such an innovative program that is bringing jobs and hope to many communities. Ladies and gentlemen, this breakfast comes After my keynote address at the Bahamas Business Outlook Seminar on January 18th and my national address just on Monday, I thought that this morning I might highlight some of the themes I addressed in those speeches. I would also like to note some of the education and training reform measures foreshadowed in my national address, measures which will help with skills development and employment readiness. We have already begun to introduce a number of overdue reforms. After consultation with the central bank, we have begun a process to relax various tax exchange measures and controls. Without prior reference to the central bank, Bahamian-owned businesses will be allowed to maintain operating deposit accounts with up to $100,000 in foreign currency at our domestic banks. These accounts will have to be funded exclusively from revenues earned in foreign currency. And this reform goes into effect today, February 1st. There is more exchange control liberalization to come. Recognizing that economic growth requires improving the ease of doing business, soon after coming to office last year, the government appointed a committee to make recommendations to improve the ease of doing business in our Bahamas. Having been a businessman myself for many years, I personally know the frustration that business owners feel in complying with certain government processes. The Ease of Doing Business Committee used 10 categories established by the World Bank to make recommendations to the government. These categories and the rankings for the Bahamas can be reviewed at the bank's website. But let me review some of the issues involved if we are to enhance the ease of doing business and to move to a more productive and dynamic economy. Presently, many government agencies require written certification from applicants during the application process for various licenses and permits. This often includes original paper confirmations to demonstrate that applicants have paid their taxes to other government agencies or have complied with certain requirements of other government agencies. Collectively, these paper confirmation and certification processes consume a significant amount of time and are often an inefficient burden for applicants as well as the government agencies that must sort through the volumes of documents created. This process, we must all admit, is antiquated. We must move to the digital era. One example is found in the Bahamas license application process. Applicants are required to supply the business license department with company fee payment and good standing confirmations, NIB payment confirmations, property tax payment confirmations, and sanitation certificates. The application form contains the company registry number, the NIB employer number, and the property tax assessment number, which would enable the business license department to easily contact these other government agencies in order to determine the status themselves. An idea for reform is for the government ministries to instruct their agencies, departments, and employees to review their license and permit application processes in order to eliminate, wherever possible, the paper confirmation and certification requirements from other government agencies and substitute same with direct agency-to-agency contact to acquire the information directly. It is disgraceful today when individuals must move from one agency to another, which may sometimes require 2 weeks between different agencies to obtain information, resulting in a delay, in some instances, 4 to 5 months. That is archaic. The enhancement of e-government systems would make this an efficient technology-driven process for the government. It is easier for a government employee to obtain confirmations from another government employee by an internally agreed upon method than for the private sector to collect numerous paper confirmations from the front desk of various government agencies. Presently, the calculation of business license fees, the timing of such, and the accountant's certification requirement is collectively an extremely burdensome process that is handled inconsistently by different parties. In 1992, when the F&M became government, I can remember very well, to obtain a car license, all was done in March. It was not unusual for thousands and thousands of individuals to line up, be it in the rain or the sun, to obtain their license. We changed that to obtaining your license on your birthday. Businesses have similar event. Their birthday is their anniversary, their financial anniversary. And therefore, they too should be able to obtain their license on their financial anniversary. At that time, they know, and they have a good idea as to their revenue stream. They can pay on that, and within 3 months, they can have the accountant's report, after which everything can be certified and the difference can be paid. The definition of turnover is ambiguous, and I just want to inform you that the Ministry of Finance is moving towards that. And my Minister of Finance have assured me that before year end, licenses will be obtained on their anniversary. And I know he's not going to make me out to be a liar. The definition of turnover is ambiguous, and it is therefore calculated inconsistently by different businesses, often to the government's detriment. The measure of the accounting certification process places a burden on businesses, which now have to produce 3 sets of income statements figures. One for VAT reporting, one for business license turnover, and the actual books for routine financial reporting. Additionally, the business license fee structure has numerous fee levels that encourage businesses on the margin of a fee breakpoint to manipulate results to stay at the rate most favorable to them. All in all, the business license regime laid over the VAT regime has resulted in an inefficient and cumbersome business environment. The process of preparing VAT returns is complex. Many businesses require professional accounting assistance to prepare their returns, while large businesses have in-house accounting departments and resources to engage external accounting and legal services. Many small and medium-sized businesses, SMEs, simply do not have the resources to do so. One idea is to respond to the challenge is establishment of an SME tax help desk to provide assistance to SMEs with tax matters, including the preparation and filing of VAT returns, invoice formatting, etc. Presently, the VAT Department and Public Treasury are at separate locations. Documents must be stamped, must first be taken to the Department of Inland Revenue and then to the Department of Treasury. This process will be simplified through better electronic interfaces and other measures. The Ease of Doing Business Committee has made other recommendations which will be reviewed and discussed later. We will then begin the process of introducing the necessary legislation and implementing various recommendations put forth by the Ease of Doing Business Committee. To streamline the business license process, the Department of Inland Revenue is launching an initiative to make the business license approval process faster and easier by creating a single point for submission of all applications related to the opening of a business. This will eliminate the need for visits to multiple agencies and will provide a source of information where all the requirements for opening a business are clearly outlined. The department is running a pilot program, and the new process is expected to be rolled out in the coming weeks. I make this firm and unwavering commitment to you. This year will be one of modernization and transformation of the business license process, as well as reform of other government agencies in order to significantly improve the ease of doing business in our Bahamas. Ladies and gentlemen, the construction sector is our second leading industry. In my address, I announced a number of significant projects that will help to boost the construction sector. We intend to execute plans for the continued refurbishment of Festival Place, downtown Nassau. We are already moving beyond this commitment and examining plans for complete redevelopment of Prince George Dock and the surrounding areas. We believe that the redevelopment of Prince George Wharf is essential for the redevelopment of downtown Nassau. We promised to launch the rebound of the island of Grand Bahama in accordance with a master strategic plan designed for Grand Bahama and to establish a tourism signature identity in the marketplace for Grand Bahama. As I've stated before, the restoration of the economy of Grand Bahama is critical for the economic recovery of the Bahamas. I view Grand Bahama as a headwind. I view the Bahamas as a plane trying to take off. but were obstructed by this headwind. We cannot concentrate on the Bahamas launching effectively without removing the headwind. Grand Bahamas problems will be resolved. Our plan for Grand Bahama is well on the way with the private acquisition and management of the Grand Lucayan assets, including the hotels, the golf courses, and the casino. This year, we intend to complete the sale of the Grand Lucayan and Memories property. The government has recently received an application in relation to West End Grand Bahama for the Grand Palm property, beach property. In 2008, the previous developer went into foreclosure, and the government has now been advised that the Grand Palm Beach Acquisitions Limited has entered into a purchase and sale agreement for the purchase of a large-scale resort known as Gin Summer in the West End of the Grand Bahama area. Grand Palm Beach Acquisition Limited will construct, repair, revitalize, develop, and operate 246 rooms in 3 hotels, a banquet facility, 116 branded hotel residences, 1,000 other residences, a hotel casino site, approximately 150,000 square feet of shops and restaurants, a spa and wellness retreat, 2 marinas, an 18-hole golf course, including driving range, an IFR rated airport, a resort hospitality training academy, and one that I love very much, an organic farm, which I want to retire and do after I leave politics. Grand Bahama Beach Acquisition Limited intends to repair, revitalize, and develop the property to be known as Bahama Bay in 9 phases over a 10-year period, with a projected expenditure of $2,560,000,000. The application is now before the National Economic Council to approve in principle and to authorize the relevant government agencies to negotiate the heads of agreement on an expeditious basis. Ladies and gentlemen, this year we will introduce an ambitious housing program. Through this program, the government will provide lots at low cost to potential first-time home owners in New Providence. The homeowners will be responsible for building their own homes. They may utilize their own architect or utilize pre-existing plans offered by the government. The potential homeowners will have 2 years to build their homes at duty-free concessionary rates, and this incentive will help to boost new construction. The program will be extended to family islands, thus encouraging family island ownership, second home ownership, and entrepreneurship development of bed and breakfast properties. Our housing program should create considerable opportunities for the construction industry and related businesses. I should say that this program will also include and will encourage Bahamians to enter the market of bed and breakfast and to stimulate our local economy. Once an individual had stated that it's a bed and breakfast hotel, if all Bahamian food items are strictly 100% Bahamian, then they will be incentivized through some form of tax reduction. This would help to stimulate the local food production market. Once that is working efficiently, individuals will shortly announce that they want to embark also on lunch. And if the lunch items are 100% Bahamian, they will be further incentivized. If one item on that plate is foreign, you will lose it. This is strictly Bahamian. Ladies and gentlemen, education reform is high on the list of priorities for my government. We recognize that the education and training of Bahamians are the key factors in the progressive and sustainable economic development of the country. The new leadership team at the Ministry of Education is addressing the national skills deficit and the critical need to improve substandard literacy, numeracy, and communication skills. Recognizing that staff skills and competencies have a direct correlation with educational results, the Ministry of Education has embarked on the mandatory training and professional development exercise of its entire staff complement. The ministry has also refocused on a specific goal to increase the graduation rate. My government has been working to enhance education via technology and experience-based learning. The government has launched the e-learning pilot program in 11 schools throughout the archipelago. The goal of this initiative is to modernize the way Bahamian youth are educated, using tablets for interactive learning and using software that allows parents and teachers to better monitor and track a child's performance. The government has also begun to address the infrastructural deficit that is faced in certain areas of our country. We have begun in the southwest area of New Providence with the finalization of a commitment to construct a new primary school. The government is actively positioning itself for an aggressive construction and upgrade program for the public school system, which will better enable learning. The National Training Agency is committed to building its capacity and has a number of objectives in mind, which include identifying, developing, and promoting industry standards for occupation and training programs, and developing assessment instruments that meet national, regional, and international standards. Clearly establishing the NTA as the agency for certification and accreditation of certain skill-based training programs, preparing and implementing additional plans for workforce vocational training in accordance with national policies, economic need, and industry demands, and designing and developing a tracking and monitoring system to measure the results of the agency's activities. I ask your assistance in working with the National Training Agency to help reduce the skills and training deficit we see today in our country. Ladies and gentlemen, to boost investment and growth, it is my intention to undertake several investment promotion trips abroad to include Canada, the United States, Europe, Asia, and South America. And I want to say for the press to hear, no, I will not, and we will not be wasting the taxpayers' money. We are result-oriented, so print that. We look forward to the participation of the private sector in this initiative. These travels are designed to attract high-quality investment to our country. A major theme of our newly designed promotion is that the Bahamas is an archipelago of possibilities, suggesting the diversity of the islands of the Bahamas and the diversification of investment possibilities, ranging from tourism to financial services to technology to aquaculture to renewable energy to nanotechnology and other emerging industries. Our aim is to promote a new and better Bahamas, open to investment, with joint partnerships with Bahamians and streamlined processes for investors, including potential investors from the diaspora. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for your attention. Let us work together to make this a dynamic year of growth, investment, and opportunity. I am optimistic, very, very optimistic, and confident that greater prosperity is on the way in our Bahamas. Thank you very much, and may God bless you. Good day.
Thank you very much. You may be seated. Thank you very much, Prime Minister. We're going to have, he's agreed to take questions from the audience for a few moments. But before we do that, I'm going to invite the Chairman, Mike Moore, to come, and he's going to present the Prime Minister with the official copy of the report from the conclave. Our staff is also going to be presenting, similarly, the books to the ministers present, and others may be able to grab yours on the way out this morning. And if you do not get a book, know that they will be posted to the Chamber's website later on today so that you'll be able to access it digitally as well. So Mike is going to present the book, and our staff is going to start to distribute them to those of you in the room. Mike.
Well, Prime Minister, first of all, thank you so much for your comments. It's my great honor on behalf of the directors of the Bahamas Chamber of Commerce to present our 2017 conclave report. You and your government are obvious partners with the private sector, and it's through that partnership that we're going to do great things. So thank you. Thank you.
Show the book so they can see. All right, thank you very much. We're going to ask both Mike and the Prime Minister who are going to remain on stage for a few moments. I believe there's a microphone somewhere in the room. Perhaps the hotel staff can assist me with that. So if you have questions, please stand, identify yourselves or yourself. Don't identify yourselves. I don't want to make you plural. Identify yourself and raise your question and direct it to whomever it's going to be, the Prime Minister or the Chairman, and they will respond. So please just stand if you have a question. We get a mic, and please speak into the mic because we are live streaming this event this morning, and we want everyone to hear what you're asking. But before you do, let me ask the first question while we get you set. The Prime Minister talked about the plans of the government and moving his agenda forward. So Prime Minister, my first question to get the ball rolling for you is, how are you going to track the progress of the government? How are you going to track the programs and the policies that you're implementing? What mechanism or methods in place to cause that to happen? And what are your plans regarding land reform and land registration? So if you can perhaps start there, and then we'll move to the next question.
Thank you very much, Sumner. With respect to ensuring that our plans are implemented and work, we are establishing within the Office of the Prime Minister a deliverable unit. That unit is headed by none other than Vienna Gardner. Stand, darling, so they could see you. Her and her team would be responsible for looking at the 5 or 6 items we deem as priority items. She would have responsibility, they would have responsibility of calling and communicating with each government ministry to ensure that timelines are met and progress is occurring. And so that my ministers would hear loud and clear, when she calls your ministry, she's calling with the voice and the authority of the Bahamas, of the Prime Minister.
There you go.
I've also established within the Office of the Prime Minister, because there's an office in, Prime Minister's office in Grand Bahama, there's a Prime Minister's office also in Eleuthera, which I attend 1 day per month. We're establishing a Prime Minister's office in Exuma, Eleuthera, and Central Andres, so that we can hear what are the issues that concern them, and any promises that we've made. I've established and have an individual in my office who is responsible for tracking what commitment I've made to ensure that it's done. That individual is an FAS Williamson. And again, I want my ministers to know that when Williamson calls, she is calling with my authority. As for land reform, there are still too many Bahamians who do not have land, and at the same time, they all want to be a part of the Bahamian dream. I view the Bahamian dream to be owning your own home with land, an education, and proper transportation system so that you can move your kids back and forth, and being able to feed your family responsibly. We intend to embark on subdivisions throughout the Bahamas and place all the infrastructure in place. The land really is their land. Crown land is the Bahamians' land. It's not my land. It's not the Prime Minister's land. It's your land, and you're entitled to it. After introducing all the necessary utilities, those land would be paid to Bahamians at rock bottom prices, where they would have certain responsibility to build at duty-free concessionary rates. We think that would give them a great opportunity. What is occurring in the Family Islands today, the tourists, there is a potential for us to lose the tourist sector because the Family Islands are leaning more towards second home, and the second home rental market is increasing. I am not an advocate of large hotels, anchor hotels. I'm an advocate of second home ownership and bed and breakfast, of which Bahamians can own. And therefore, we would encourage them to develop second homes so that they can become part of the futuristic hotel tourist market that will occur in the Family Islands as our tourism product is changing throughout the world. And therefore, Bahamians would have an opportunity 15 years from the day to own the tourist product in the Family Islands. If we do not deal with it now, we will be screaming 15 years from the day when we would not control tourist product in the Family Islands. So it's essential that we do that.
Thank you. Question?
Thank you, Prime Minister Venice. My name is Marsha Mills, and I represent NETI, Nurses Edge Training Institute. It's a small company, just starting about 3 years now. And we offer healthcare-related programs, specialty certifications, specifically for nurses, EMTs, etc. I was happy to hear about the ease of doing business, and that's been one of our greatest challenge in offering our program specifically for the nurses. It's a very interesting process in getting the nurses into the state's own hospital to gain some experience volunteering their own time. It has been challenging. So I'm hoping that this ease of doing business will extend to the healthcare sector also. And I would also welcome the opportunity to address some of the, or share with you some of the programs that we do offer in helping you prepare for NHI in the coming years.
Yeah, thank you very much. The government, we welcome private sector involvement within all sectors of the government. We recognize that the government cannot do it by itself or alone. I'm a straight shooter. Anyone in government who believes that the government can do it all is a fool. And I'm no fool. So we will welcome the private sector to assist. That's the only way economies and countries can succeed. You cannot do it alone. And therefore, I would welcome you, and I would arrange for you to meet the relevant agencies and individuals so that you can be assisted as much as possible. But we welcome the assistance.
Next.
Question for both Prime Minister and the son of my mother's nephew. As a small businessman, I welcome the breath of fresh air to the business climate which your government promises. I already see some of the benefits of that. And I was very interested in your focus on the incentives for 100% Bahamian food on menus and your dream of Bahamian farming. But what was very absent was the protection or the incentives necessary for Bahamian manufacturers, especially pro-WTO, that we don't have concessions to investments that do not include the Bahamian manufacturer. It makes the manufacturing sector, which is small, but has the potential of being huge if people will purchase Bahamian-made products. We were denied a huge contract on an organization who's given huge concessions to buy what I make, not in the Bahamas. And I would love to hear that incentives to investors if 100% of this is Bahamian made. How are you going to address that?
Thank you very much, Bates. I'm just going to mention just a few words, and I'm sure Mara would like to, would be happy to elaborate. First, I believe I don't want to use the term because that's an old term. I believe in Bahamianization. I don't want to say Bahamian first, that carries a certain connotation. But I believe in protecting our own. But at the same time, it must be of quality standard. Don't give me crap, all right? And that's why it's essential to have a Bureau of Standard, so that we have quality product. But I'm sure whatever concerns you may have, I'm sure once you discuss that with the relevant ministry, they know our position. The government will do all to ensure that Bahamian manufacturers, Bahamian products are protected. But at the same time, they must be quality. Don't feel that because you made this and it's Bahamian, I'm not speaking to you personally, that you made this and because it's Bahamian made, I have a right to buy it. If I can find something better and that does not meet the quality or standards set by the government in compliance, I hope, with international standards, then of course, you probably wouldn't want your own product.
A concession is a tax. A concession is part of my dollar, not part of the government's dollar. So as a Bahamian, I am 110% in favor of the development of any industry that allows our economy to grow, regardless of what it is. The concern that I have is that for far too long, we have both handed out concessions to the foreign investor as well as established concessions to local investors without any analysis to ensure that it does in fact lead to economic growth. So that while I may give a portion of my hard-earned dollar to support that concession, it's coming back to me tenfold because the economy is growing. If I could use Caribbean bottling as an example, that's probably one of the easiest examples that I could give you in terms of investment, local investment, Bahamian investment in industry. If you've had the opportunity to go look at their facility, it's state-of-the-art. You could pick that facility up and drop it anywhere in the world, and you wouldn't know where you were because it's first world. It's also a business that's exporting. So that's just the icing on the cake. Now, we have other industries that may resemble a warehouse that probably hasn't been improved upon for the last 20 years. It may have 13 employees. Those 13 employees may make an average of $400 a week. You happen to have an owner that is doing quite well, but the fact that a concession exists to protect that particular operator, and that concession leads to 380,000 Bahamians having to pay with their dollar to protect those 13 jobs, but it's on my back and it's on your back without any analysis to say that that investment, that concession leads to broad economic growth, in my opinion, begs the question, should we be doing that? And so from my perspective, what I would hope that the government undertakes is a review of all concessions to ensure that they do in fact lead to the prosperity of all of us, and it's not isolated to a special interest group. That doesn't mean that you can't be a small business and receive some type of assistance, and there could be an argument that would say, well, how do we ever get to become a Caribbean bottling if we're never given a chance to start? Well, I think that's the difference between where government perhaps needs to engineer programs that almost cultivate the development of small industry so that to find out whether or not these industries can actually, or these businesses can actually develop roots and begin to run like a Caribbean bottling can. And perhaps that incentive or that support needs to come by way of developing industrial parks or providing land, free land, under a proper program to where the person has 5 years in which to try to get something going. But our reality is, regardless of concessions, 90% of businesses fail. So I think we just need to make sure that whatever the government believes, with the support of the private sector, that we should be supporting with my dollar and yours, that it leads to a benefit to all of us, and that would be a wonderful thing.
Okay, we're right on time, so I'll take maybe 2 more questions. Who's next? Any other question? Debbie, sorry.
Good morning. This is a suggestion for both Mike and Prime Minister Martinez. You mentioned the revitalization of the Prince George dock, and I think it would be a great thing if there was actually a sign, so when the cruise ships came in, because Minister Delicia Levitt said that, sorry, cruise ship tourism is greater than flying. It would be nice to have an actual sign that says "Welcome to Nassau, Bahamas," because a lot of people, when they're on cruise ships, they wake up, they don't even know where they're going into. You go into Great Seal and Royal Andros, South Andros, sorry. There's a nice big sign that says "Welcome to Great Seal." So that would be an awesome thing to have an actual sign saying "Welcome to Nassau, Bahamas." Just a suggestion.
On behalf of the 2 of them, thank you for your suggestion. We take 1 more question. Who else? Anyone else has a question before we wrap this session? Please, yes.
Sophia Fisher, Community Pharmacy. Just wanted to ask, as a small business owner, I didn't hear you mention anything in reference to crime. I would like to know which days I can go to be in my establishment after 10 o'clock in the evening, when it closes, and don't have to worry about crime. I just wanted to know that. And I do agree in reference to doing the business license fees and everything, it was very stressful. So I do commend that birthday anniversary thing. I look forward to that, and I'll be in great health. Also, I have 1 more issue. I do mention the program with the Farmland thing that you're going to introduce. Would that help persons who are doing mentoring program in the small communities? Can we kind of get some assistance with that from that land thing that you're introducing?
I didn't hear the last question properly.
Sorry, can you repeat the last part of your question regarding the land?
No, I do a mentoring program in the Farmwood area, so I was just wondering if the land assistance program would help in reference to us getting a building to do the mentoring program.
No, the land program, looking especially at first-time homeowners then moving up. As you travel through a lot of the communities, you would find that individuals live in two-room houses, 7, 9 kids sleeping on the floor, etc., and all they want is an opportunity to own a home. So you'd be focusing especially on that, but it includes everybody. Land and poverty is personal to me. Crime is one of those issues that's a priority issue that the deliverable unit would be looking at. And you also know that in terms of criminal activity, I think about 60–80% occur within the inner city. And the inner city is very, very personal to me. I would say that's my baby. And I think as we correct and help those areas through that program, that would help also with crime. But crime is one of the priority matters that is being dealt with by the deliverable unit.
All right. If there aren't any questions, we promise that we'll have this wrapped up by a certain hour. Please let's give the Prime Minister and our Chairman another round of applause. Thank you very much. We're going to be doing, before we wrap the session, we're going to have closing remarks in a moment. We're going to take an official photo, so I'm going to ask all of the ministers present and our directors, the Prime Minister and others to prepare. We're going to do a group photograph in just a moment. I'm going to ask the hotel staff, if they don't mind, to remove this podium for me. While we're doing that, I'm going to ask you, we're going to just step around really quickly. Alive, who's one of our patron sponsors of the Chamber, please have a seat. Thank you. A patron sponsor of the Chamber, they are going to be doing a raffle right now, giving away a gift. So we're going to be walking around collecting your business cards. So please, if you have a business card and you wish to be part of this drawing, please make sure you get your card into Ms. Burrows, who's walking the room right now. Drop your card in the bag. When we're done with the closing remarks, we're going to have the drawing of that raffle. But while we're doing that, I'm going to ask all of our directors, please, ministers, photographers, they're going to come, Prime Minister, Mike, Deputy. We're going to just gather and we're going to do a very quick official photograph of all of us. No, he has to leave. We have to do it now. And we can do this while we're getting gathered for this. Krista will come and do a closing remarks while we assemble for this, please. And also, please, if you want to take part in the drawing, please make sure get your cards in now. And while we prepare ourselves to do this photograph, we're going to invite Crystal Rutherford Ferguson, who's going to come and she's going to bring our vote of thanks and closing remarks. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Protocol having been established amongst the chaos going on down here, I am delighted to bring closing remarks on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber takes its work as the advocates for the business sector seriously. We are pleased to provide access, advocacy, and advice for the business community. We recognize that SMEs are the lifeblood of the Bahamian economy and that without them, our country would suffer. We have heard the Prime Minister speak to a number of things this morning, including the government's agenda to be that of one of reform and transformation. The Prime Minister also stated that the government is determined to enhance opportunities for Bahamians. Therefore, it goes without saying that we are looking forward to a continued collaborative approach with the government and to ensure that the Chamber could lend its support. The Chamber is pleased of the relationship that we currently enjoy with the government. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to thank our membership for their continued support and would encourage you all, if you are not members of the Chamber of Commerce, to join. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce staff for assisting in arranging this power breakfast. Special thanks to the Prime Minister for his presentation, and we look forward to the initiatives that were addressed this morning. Thank you goes out to our patron sponsors, Commonwealth Bank, Alive, and Arawak Port Development Company. To Bahamas, thank you for hosting us. And last but definitely not least, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you for sharing your morning with us, and we look forward to seeing you at our next power breakfast. Good morning.
Watch out for the coffee in there, I'm sorry. I don't want it to spill on you.
Can you lift?
No, there's the wires. The wires.
Keep the wire in.